Most people paint superheroes to look powerful. I wanted this one to look dead.
That escalated quickly.
Because Solomon Grundy isn't really a villain. He's a corpse, wrapped in rage, and dragged through Gotham's nightmares for almost 80 years. And today, we enter Slaughter Swamp and review him. Welcome back, collectors, and thanks for tuning in to Comic Statues Unleashed. This is my fully 3D printed, hand-painted Solomon Grundy. And trust me, this thing turned out way creepier than I expected.
Surprise, motherfucker.
You know, comic books have always given us a lot of monsters over the years. Some are brilliant, some are terrifying, and some are just pure chaos. But Grundy is different. So today, we're stepping into something a little darker and entering Slaughter Swamp. Solomon Grundy has always fascinated me, not just as a monster, but as one of the DC's strangest tragedies. He's not elegant at all. He's not particularly intelligent. And he's not even fully evil. He's sadness turned into muscle. And today, we're going to take a look at my interpretation of this absolute swamp-born nightmare monster. Join me as we continue into phase 2 of the copyright infringement endeavor. For legal purposes, all of these are strictly for educational purposes and not personal consumption.
Right to jail, right away.
Now, let's get into it. But first, a little backstory. Originally known as Cyrus Gold, Grundy was murdered and dumped in Slaughter Swamp outside of Gotham, and somehow the swamp gave him life again. But not real life, more like fragmented memory, rage, and confusion. Every version of Grundy feels different because every resurrection changes him. Sometimes he's brutal, sometimes childish, sometimes horrifyingly intelligent. But underneath all of it, there's always this sadness to him, because at his core, Solomon Grundy is really just a man, trapped inside of decay. So, beginning the review, I have here the fully printed and assembled statue. Clear as day, he is a well-oversized quarter-scale statue, especially considering he's a Batman Rogues villain. He's more in line with a large Hulk or powerful Thanos piece, to be honest. Again, I have to commend my printer on this one. This piece came out so smooth and flawless, I couldn't believe it at first. He
Throw me a frickin' bone here!
required next to no prep work or repair work at all. The next steps were to determine the appropriate paint application. What I really wanted with this project was texture, not superhero clean texture, real texture. Wet dirt, rot, rust, swamp water sitting in fabric seams for decades. I wanted him to look like he was stepping out of the swamp and lit with moonlight in a noir style aspect. Here are a few renders I made up and a final color palette cheat sheet that I settled on. I started with a black primer, which became the foundation for everything. Then slowly layered in grays, muddy greens, sepia tones, and weathering washes to create that undead depth. The chains got heavier rust treatment, of course, because I wanted them to feel ancient, almost fused into him over time. The gums were honestly one of the hardest parts. Too red and it becomes cartoony, too dark and you lose all realism. So I ended up building translucent, sickly tones with gloss to give him that infected, wet look, which is both disgusting and rather perfect for him. After I was satisfied with all of the textures and dry brushing, I decided to put a complete matte finish on him to bring out all of the tones into one cohesive application. It really added another level to the piece, but I have to admit, I had to go back and re-dry brush several areas as it completely desaturated and practically erased all the dry brushing I had done on some areas. The base of this piece is a supernatural cauldron of ideas. I tried to carry that energy over by utilizing mystical purples and blues as well as numerous metallic undertones. Also, you'll find skulls adorned throughout this piece. The sub-base was comprised of what I can only describe as a wooden pirate ship style of design, with exposed wooden planks, rivets, and emblems. The body is really where this entire piece comes alive for me, because this is where the humanity starts disappearing. You can still see traces of man underneath all of this, but it's buried beneath layers of decay, mud, damage, and resurrection. I didn't want the skin to feel healthy or heroic. I wanted it to feel cold, waterlogged, and almost swamp-soaked. So the paintwork became a balance between dead flesh tones, desaturated grays, sickly greens, and subtle washes to create that rotting depth. And what I really love is how the shadows settled naturally into the sculpt. The deeper contrast helps exaggerate the uneven anatomy and gives Grundy this constantly decomposing appearance. Even the musculature feels wrong in the best possible way. It's massive but unstable, like the body was rebuilt from memory instead of biology. And under moody lighting, this torso honestly stops looking like a statue. It starts feeling like something you shouldn't have awakened.
At that moment, I was 100% sure I was going to be molested.
And here we have the signature Comic Statues Unleashed 360-degree vantage point. What makes this piece work for me isn't just the size, it's the posture. Grundy doesn't stand like a superhero. He lumbers. The asymmetry in the sculpt gives him this unstable feeling, like he's perpetually moments away from collapsing or attacking. The torn clothing helps sell the resurrection aspect. The exposed stitching almost feels surgical. And the knives in the back were one of the favorite additions because they imply history. Somebody at some point tried to stop this thing before, and it didn't work. The reason Grundy survives decade after decade in comics is because he taps into something primal. He represents fear of decay, fear of losing identity, fear of becoming something unrecognizable. But weirdly, there's also sympathy there. Grundy is often portrayed almost like a confused child trapped inside a monster's body. That contradiction is what gives him depth. Batman villains usually represent psychological extremes. Joker is chaos, Scarecrow is fear, Two-Face is duality. But Grundy is death that refuses to stay buried. Just to help hammer home the whole canon of Grundy, I'll give a few little highlights. Solomon Grundy first appeared in 1944. His name comes from the old nursery rhyme, Solomon Grundy, born on a Monday. He's fought everyone from Batman to Superman to Green Lantern. Some versions of Grundy are nearly mindless, while others are next-level genius at high intelligence. This character has been resurrected countless times, often with different personalities. Grundy's swamp origin inspired multiple horror reinterpretations over the years. And despite being terrifying, many comic fans consider him one of DC's most tragic monsters.
Damn, bro, you must get bitches.
Still no bitches.
So, as a final collector's verdict, what I love most about this piece is that it doesn't try to be beautiful. It embraces ugliness through texture, horror, and weight. And honestly, that's what makes it art. This isn't a clean museum superhero statue. It feels like something recovered from a flooded crypt beneath Gotham City. The print quality, paint layering, washes, weathering, and overall atmosphere come together better than I honestly expected. And as a display piece, Grundy has presence for sure. He towers over all other pieces. He doesn't disappear into a collection. He contaminates the shelf around him. At the end of the day, I think the reason collectors love monsters like Solomon Grundy is because they remind us that imperfections tell stories. Cracks, damage, weathering, age, those things create characters. And maybe that's true for people too. Grundy isn't polished. He isn't noble. He isn't even fully alive. But somehow, he still endures. And standing here in the cave tonight, covered in mud, chains, rust, and swamp water, I think this might be one of the most atmospheric pieces I've ever created. This doesn't feel sculpted. It feels exhumed. I hope you enjoyed this venture as much as I did. Until we meet again, keep your passion for collecting alive and your love for superheroes soaring. Well, if you stuck around this far, congratulations to you. You get a quick little sneak peek at the last painted bootleg copywritten piece. That's right, Aquaman is 100% done at this point. Here he is riding Jeff the Land Shark. The review will be dropping shortly. I hope you enjoy it.